It's a good tuna, but I think I paid too much.
I always wear my mask and wash my hands after going home.
I am the king of the ring.
Welcome to the Japan What Podcast, episode 197. Or is it 8? 8. I am your host, Matthew PMBigelow.com. And I'm coming at you from the Aizumicho Studios in Shinjuku, Tokyo, Japan. The armpit of Asia. Covering Japan Society 5.0, AI market trends, rising conflict in the Indo-Pacific, Japan's migration issues, and more. We thank you for coming along the flow of today's show. Recording this at the January 31st. The first month of 2025 is now over. How much of the percentage of the year is that? Quite a bit. And how many of your goals have you even thought about beginning yet? And yet all of that time is now behind you. Just laying that out there. Today we're going to begin by looking at some good old statistics and then going through an idea that's been, that always, it's like it ebbs and flows. It's a perennial favorite. Should foreigners vote in Japan? So this comes to us from valueinvest.japan, not .japan, Value Invest Japan. It's a X account. And he's just quoting some stuff from a Nikkei article that's behind a paywall, or it was for me. So that's why I'm just choosing this account. So it goes, foreigners now account for 3.4% of the total workforce, according to data released Friday by the Ministry of Health, Labor, and Welfare. By nationality, Vietnam accounts for 24.8% of the total, with 570,000 people, followed by China with 400,000 and the Philippines with 240,000. What I'd like to say is that this is the workforce, not the total population. So a lot of the times people will say, wait, I heard it was like way more than that. I thought it was beyond 3 million. Well, this is just workforce. That's a lot. And up until 10 years ago, the Vietnamese population wasn't really much of a thing here. Now it is. And I was watching these Japanese politicians by this Japanese Reporter is the name of the YouTube account. He does really good reports about Japan. He's a Japanese guy, and he speaks English with a very typical accent. But his research is very solid, and the positions that he presents are very objective. The reports have a purpose to them, and he kind of leaves it up, or he might switch a point of view depending on where the data goes. So I really recommend the Japan Reporter, I believe it's called. And anyways, it was this was titled "Should Foreigners Be Able to Vote in Japan?" or something like that. And there's all these politicians, a lot of them kind of women in their 40s, saying yes, they absolutely should. They pay local taxes, and they're going to be here for the future of Japan. If we have a population that can't vote, what's that mean? And there is a point to it. However, I would also label this caveat, like a lot of the Hakujins, the white-skinned gaijins in Japan, a lot of that community is an older community, and from the 90s especially, and a lot of them are hangovers from the early Eikaiwa days, or people that began as Eikaiwa teachers, English conversation teachers, and then moved into other industries or something like that. And so in the late 90s, early 2000s, these people would have like a community around them of Western educated liberal types. And back then, liberal isn't what it is now. So you would be able to kind of say to your compatriots, why don't we have the right to vote? And you might think that you'd be voting in like this way that would be independent and your own individualistic and means and stuff like that. But if you have 570,000 Vietnamese coming in, and this is in the 2020s now, and this is with smartphone technology, and this is what I mean by that is they don't need to learn the local language anymore. They don't need to make an effort to integrate anymore. All they need to do is show up to their jobs, do their jobs, and go back to their kind of enclaves. And that's what the Japanese politicians are kind of setting forth, and that's the way it's going. And I'm not saying it's a Japanese fault. I'm not saying it's a Vietnamese fault. I'm not saying it's good or it's bad. That's just the way it's going. So, but I'm wondering, would 570,000 Vietnamese vote individually, or would they vote as an ethnic bloc? Same thing with the Chinese, 400,000. Or the Philippines. Philippines might be a little bit more individualistic, actually, in my opinion. But if foreigners were given the right to vote, how many more Chinese people would move here with the aim of a long-term influence campaign or something like that? So when I think it's like, well, I pay taxes, I should at least be able to vote in local elections or say something which goes on in my community. But so then you extend the vote to 500,000 Vietnamese. And with this is the idea. What would be better, to have the local Japanese people decide my future, or to have Vietnamese people lobby the government to make a better Vietnamese future for the Vietnamese in Japan? Like, I'm kind of left out in either result, but which one am I left out in more? I mean, I integrate with Japanese people way more than I do Vietnamese, for example. So this idea of just giving everybody the vote and making it a happy place. But then I read this other tweet. Actually, I'll just load it up. It makes sense. This comes to us from Justin Okema, who was on the podcast a few months ago. We were talking about Society 5.0 and its ties to the World Economic Forum and all that stuff. And he put a tweet out on the 28th of February, or a post on X. The UN and most of Japan's leaders have been aiming to make 30% of the Japanese population be foreign immigrants by the year 2050. And he says, imagine a scenario in which 30% of the population is non-citizens and cannot vote, and you get some idea of why this is so dangerous. And he has like a little documentation there. So which is worse, having a 30% of the population that lives here and has no direction over its future? They just receive directives from a government that they cannot vote for, by like this upper echelon society, kind of like what we had with Rhodesia, where only rich white landowners were able to vote. And their whole point there was like, we want to extend the right to vote to everybody, but we just need to get this place running first before we do so. Okay, sure, whatever. Take that with it as you will. But what about in Japan's case? Would Japan's case be more like a copy of like the United Arab Emirates or Qatar or something like that, or Qatar, where you basically have like this super elite cast of locals that make billions and billions of dollars off of the oil reserves or the gas sales or whatever it is, and you hire like this subclass which works underneath you, and you can remove and bring in at your will, kind of like levered, like operating a gas valve or something. We need more Filipinos, bring them in. We need less of them, turn it off. And you just operate your society like that. I'm not sure which one is good or better. I do think it's a conundrum. And at the same time, 30% of a total population having no right to vote. But then would they form would they vote in groups? Another example are these, there's a few Muslim communities. One's in Beppu in Kyushu, another one's in Kawaguchi in Saitama. And they do form a little bit of an enclave there. And one group in Beppu is saying, well, if we're going to be here for our lives, we need to have Muslim burial grounds. Well, they're going to vote for that. And if they get the vote, they're going to vote for that. But what's in it for me as a single voter, as like one voter who looks at things like in an individualistic, like what's happening at that time is the best decision for the future, not some sort of what's in it for my community aspect, because I don't have a community. So it's this interesting idea of it sounds good, it looks good, but it's actually both options. It's a dilemma where you're kind of screwed out either way. Having a 30% of your population not being able to vote or direct the future of the country, pretty nuts. So anyways, and then like the politicians would start trying to court ethnic enclaves, so they would start adopting or adapting to these demands so that they could have access to millions of votes and things like that. And I'm just lost in the wind. I'm like one leaf. What about me? They're like, yes, we care about you. We really do. We don't care about them at all. All right, let's take a look at Japan Society 5.0.
The fourth industrial revolution will enable us to create a new society. Artificial intelligence will transform the big data collected through the Internet of Things into new wisdom. Society 5.0, a technology-based, human-centered society. The fourth industrial revolution will raise our standard of living and solve various challenges we face. It will, for example, free us from the stress of driving, allowing us to safely visit anyone, anytime. We will have access to the latest medical advancements at a low cost, no matter where we are. AI and robots will enhance human
All right,
abilities.
so that's the Japanese government's jingle for its Society 5.0. It's a large umbrella of just wireless technology equipped with algorithms that perform artificial intelligence functions for everyone, everywhere, so that we don't have to do anything we don't want to. That's their aspect to it. But the Fourth Industrial Revolution, as I mentioned many times, is the title of a book by Klaus Schwab, who founded the World Economic Forum. So there's this aspect of it is like how much of this is for Japan and how much of this is some sort of globalist world governance scheme, and you can't stop it either way. The technology is here. It's like saying, what are we going to do with this airplane? Well, we're not going to use it, and then it will just go away. So what I want to focus on right now is DeepSeek, and I have an interesting angle about this because I've been kind of preparing for this since 2018, and it's 2025 right now, and I would say it's right on schedule. To understand what that means, I have to prepare something a little bit right now, but I'll get into it using facts that I believe have had positive effects for the entire country of Japan and has possibly led to further positive protectionism. So DeepSeek, there's a lot of news about it. And I got Grok, which is X's large language model, which is getting really good, and I quite like it. And to do kind of a summary, and then I'm going to take that summary and expand it into that lead-in that I was just talking about. So over the past week, DeepSeek, a Chinese AI startup, released its R1 model, which outperforms leading AI models at a lower cost, causing a significant market reaction. Nvidia's stock plummeted, losing nearly $600 billion, and the Japanese chip manufacturers also, it was a bloodbath. They were taking 5-10% hits on day. This is due to DeepSeek's claim of using less advanced chips and debates over data usage. Security issues emerged as DeepSeek exposed sensitive data, leading to quick action to secure it. In response, the U.S. Navy banned DeepSeek and the Pentagon blocked its use after connections to Chinese servers. Nvidia shares slightly recovered, but the market remains volatile. In China, DeepSeek's success is celebrated, and Japan's Chief Cabinet Secretary Hayashi has commented on the need to balance innovation with risk management regarding DeepSeek. So that's kind of this DeepSeek thing. And you just ask it questions and it gives you answers. And some people say, like, if you ask it about Hong Kong, it's not going to answer you. So this is just Chinese communist propaganda. Well, for a time there, if you asked like a lot of large language models, if there were only two genders, it would say, whoa, no, whoa, you're crazy. So there's going to be bias on both ends. Bias in AI algorithms is intrinsic. It's embedded into the core of its codes. But one thing I'd like to begin with before going into the analysis is one of the innovations that DeepSeek had. And this is called cold start data integration. And it says, before applying reinforcement learning, which is a type of AI, like machine learning type thing, DeepSeek incorporates cold start data, which includes carefully curated long chains of thought examples. This helps in refining the model's initial performance by addressing issues like endless repetition, poor readability, and language mixing, while also setting the stage for more effective reinforcement learning. Basically, what this means is, instead of just ingesting all of the data on the internet, which would include a lot of bias, what this AI program does is it, before ingesting it, there's like another AI subset where it parses useful and non-useful data. So if it's like constant gender ideology, it'll just say, no, we're not ingesting that. But if it's about something like sex preferences for market research in the apparel industry, it will take that in because that's actually useful. So it's able to curate the information and then have a better reservoir of data that you can query it for, prompt it for, rather than just having everything, which is nothing in a way. If it's too much, you may as well not have any of it. One way of looking at it. So that's just an interesting innovation on part of the Chinese there. Now, to go back to this thing where it's right on time, like I mentioned earlier, this goes back to 2018 when I was working in big tech. And at that time, a retired brigadier general named Robert Spalding, he's retired now, but he's written 2 books called Stealth War, which is about China, and War Without Rules, which is about China's unrestricted warfare policies or ideas. We'll just call them ideas. He also released a memo that was so quote unquote leaked from the Pentagon because he was working with the Pentagon at the time because he had extensive experience in China. He was a military attaché in Beijing, and he speaks Chinese pretty well. And he was looking at all of this AI innovation in China in the late 2010s and going, oh my God, these people are really going forward with this surveillance state based on artificial intelligence. And if they end up being the number one provider, then they'll be the number one surveiller, and it goes on from there. So he kind of published this thing, and it didn't go over well in Washington at all because there's so much Chinese influence in Washington. And when this came out, when I was in big tech, I looked at this paper and I read it thoroughly a few times, and I was like, this is a really important document. And I was using it in the classrooms at that time where I was teaching because this document is looking at Chinese AI technology and telecommunications like Huawei and how it's using markets to expand into markets and then use Chinese-based AI surveillance to export it around the world. And so I started spreading this document around inside of the company I was at. And one of the executives said that he handed it to a member of the Japanese government. And this was at a time when there was a big debate as to whether Huawei should be allowed to be used by Japanese telecommunications companies in its backbones. So it's part of its core infrastructure. And so he comes back and he's like, yeah, I handed that document over to the government. And the next week it's, Huawei's banned from being used in telecommunication backbones. Did I have anything to do with it? I don't know. But it shows that I was on the money regarding the sentiment at the time. And this document that I really like to focus on had one passage. This is called Secure 5G, and I'm going to link to it at MatthewPMBigelow.com. And one part of this document is called the AI Wars, essentially. And this goes back all the way to 2015. I had it loaded up earlier. Now it's taking its time to load up again. Just let me scroll down. This one's called Rebuilding the Internet. No, Information Security, Deterrence of State, Joint Force. The AI Arms Race. This goes back to 2018. And back then, nobody was really talking about AI so much. It's not like it is today where it's just all the time. So I'm going to read from this document about how DeepSeek's release in 2025 is actually right on time for what China is trying to do. And this document essentially predicted it. I begin. Using efforts like China Manufacturing 2025, CM 2025, and the 13th five-year plan, China has assembled the basic components required for winning the AI arms race. CM 2025 will provide indigenous innovation and market dominance for 10 critical American industries, including artificial intelligence, robotics, fintech, and commercial aviation, to name a few. Data is the oil of the 21st century. Adam Curry would say it's data is the bacon of the 21st century. And China has built the world's first strategic reserve. Complete elimination of privacy standards combined with a strong firewall has enabled China to transform its Great Firewall into a great ocean of data. The current algorithm battles are slowly drifting in China's favor as companies like Google build AI research centers inside China's information sphere and world-class data scientists mine the data, the US's and theirs, or G7 and China, without restraint. China has already catapulted into the lead for facial recognition to support its authoritarian regime. Much like America's success in the competition for nuclear weapons, China's 21st century Manhattan Project sets them on a path to getting there first. This AI will be harnessed to power a global social credit system currently being rolled out in China to ensure individual and corporate compliance with CCP edict through all levels of society. Building a nationwide secure 5G network sets the condition for future success in the information domain. Not building the network puts us at a permanent disadvantage to China in the information domain. That last part there is the crux of his article called Secure 5G. Very interesting. And that seems to be what's happening right now. China manufacturing, 2025. Well, it's 2025, and China basically just released a large language model that wiped almost $1 trillion out of the market in 1 week. It'll probably recover, but it also sets the precedent that while the Americans can kind of say, hey, we need to divest TikTok and we're going to force you to sell it or we're going to ban it, well, some Chinese companies and invest like a hedge fund releases this thing and it takes a big whack out of all of the hype. And I use the word hype specifically because OpenAI has been saying that they are going to need nuclear power plants to power these algorithms because the requirement for the data is so huge. I wonder about that. I really do. It's a text message. Like when I get a text message, it's like a search, essentially. So when I say, what's the recipe for this egg thing? And just sends me a text message. It has to go and think about it. But do we really require nuclear power plants to send us text messages? That's where I think the AI bubble is at. And OpenAI, which has ChatGPT, is bought by Microsoft now, which is Bill Gates. And Bill Gates has a company that was building modular nuclear reactors. And so is this just hype to sell nuclear reactors to power data centers when it's not really all that necessary? It's like a hype game. So you're getting played. Maybe China knew that it was getting played because they're like, well, look, we have this thing. We don't need all the advanced chips and it can run locally on a computer. It basically does the same thing. It might be just a few percentage points worse, but you can run this locally in-house on a $6,000 setup. It doesn't require billions of dollars of infrastructure investment and nuclear power plants to do so. So that's where the hype is with AI. It's with these companies saying, we need nuclear power plants to focus this AI power so that we could send you text messages for the types of eggs you need. And then furthermore, looking at wiping out $1 trillion of market cap after a rival government forcing one of your most powerful AI surveillance tools to be canceled or sold off or stripped away from your own AI arms race. So this is an AI arms race. It's a supply chain war race as well. It's all part and parcel of the same thing. As we move towards the singularity, more things come together, whether you like it or not. And this article from 2018 called The AI Arms Race nailed it exactly. And I've been walking around like this for 7 years now, pretty much, just kind of going, yeah, it's in the bag, guys. It's following a business plan. Like we have our milestones that we need to reach in 2025, January. DeepSeek is just part of the milestones as we see in China's manufacturing 2025 and its 13th 5-year plan, right on schedule. right on schedule. Very odd. Very odd. That's where the AI bubble is, by the way. Now, I can see in future having to require much more energy to produce, like people are saying we're going to be watching movies based on AI. I don't really think people watch movies anymore, to be honest with you. So I don't see that as the real reason. We don't know what that reason's going to be. But it's probably going to be like micro drones with gigapixel cameras flying around in swarms. That's going to require a lot of nuclear energy. Manufacturing, entire factories that have equipped with robots sending all the data between them and the IoT and the digital twin infrastructure. That's going to need a lot of power. So it's basically all of this power is going to be needed to replace the human power that used to go into it. But it's not so that we can just watch movies made by AI. It's a replacement strategy. This is the ultimate great replacement. That's what this is. And so we have this hype that we need to have OpenAI send text messages to us via nuclear power plants, small module reactors. But I think there's another reason for it, which is what I've just mentioned. This does come back to Japan in the form of, Italy blocks access to the Chinese AI application DeepSeek. So they're blocking it. And SoftBank is in talks to invest up to $25 billion into OpenAI, Financial Times reports. From Reuters coming to us from via the Asahi Shimbun, Asia and Japan Watch. Now, I'm pretty familiar with SoftBank, and I think they're overall a very interesting company. The CEO, Masayoshi Son, is a bit of an idealist. He is a singularitarian guy. He believes in the singularity. I meant to the singularitarian. I can't remember how what the person is that believes in it is called. So he has like a very thirsty vision, and I think he wants to realize it before he checks out of this world, to be honest with you. He wants to be here to witness it. This is the article. Japan SoftBank is in talks to invest as much as $25 billion into ChatGPT maker OpenAI. SoftBank could invest $15 billion to $25 billion directly into Microsoft-backed OpenAI on top of its commitment of more than $15 billion to Stargate, which is the joint venture between Oracle, OpenAI, and SoftBank, which is to invest overall $500 billion to help the United States stay ahead of China in the other rivals in the global AI race. What did I just say from 2018 that everybody said it was crazy for until right now? The talks are ongoing, and the amount that SoftBank could invest in primary equity into OpenAI is a moving target, a source said, and OpenAI and SoftBank did not immediately respond to requests for comment, blah, blah, blah. So it is coming back to Japan. And oh my God, in that document that I was referencing earlier, one other aspect of Japan is mentioned in this document from 2018 that I just realized is directly applicable to the topic that I was talking about right now. And this comes to us on, gotta switch this around. I don't normally go through documents like this. So this would be benefits to the American people from this leaked Pentagon document in 2018. This is on page 6. And it says benefits to the American people. There's security, there's prosperity, there's an arena of allied cooperation. And this says build secure 5G at home and abroad, and Japan all in. And in 2015 or 16, when Trump first got in, Masayoshi Son went over there and pledged, $50 billion? And that was because in this document, it says that I'm referencing right now, Sprint telecommunication company, which was owned by SoftBank, had the best wireless systems for distributing 5G across the nation securely because of its network and because it had access to 2.5 or 3.5 gigahertz spectrum. And this relates to how far and fast 5G can penetrate. And if it's a 600 hertz or 700 hertz bandwidth or whatever it is, it can go far, but it's not so fast. And if it's 20 gigahertz, it goes like multiple gigabytes a second of transmission wirelessly, but it can't go through a sweater or it can't go through rain. So the 2.5 to 3.5 had this Goldilocks security aspect to it where it could penetrate far and it could penetrate through. And Sprint was at the core of that. And Sprint being owned by SoftBank, which was Masayoshi's son, he was poised to have a big say in how that would be rolled out. But it didn't go as planned because there's a lot of industrial interference at that time, actually, where people were trying to force the sale or the regulatory agencies of the United States were kind of so against Trump and all those initiatives that it became so messy, it scuttled the project. But now Trump's back and Son's back, and this thing is going back on track, it seems to me. So we're going to see the AI arms race heat up. And I don't know, I think Robert Spalding should probably do another one of these from 2025 to 2030 because now it's out of date. Now we need a new one, right? Now we need a new one for sure. And here we go, another one. So I'm just going to take a quick break from that. I'm going to play this. All right, I'm back. My brain is like, it's on a track, but then it remembers things and it starts bringing in other things that I'm reading, and it's kind of messy, screwed up my brain. So one thing that I've often said about Japan Society 5.0 or about the idea of AI in general is that there's two sides of a crazy coin that get way too much attention. One side is the defeatist side, the catastrophist side of AI is going to be our friends and it's going to take our jobs and it's going to screw our wives before killing us, so we just can't do anything about it. And I was very on board with that. But now I have to say, looks like the jobs are going. And the reason why I was skeptical about the jobs is because when self-driving vehicles first started being promoted at tech shows quite rapidly or a lot about 10 years ago, I was like, okay, they're here. Looks like the taxi cab industry is basically screwed. Well, Lyft is basically an AI program, or Uber or whatever. It's an AI algorithm, but the driving and all that stuff is still done by the drivers. So it didn't really replace anybody, did it? So that's why I remained skeptical. But now with the idea of agents that are being hired, AI agents as employees by corporations, we can begin to see that the old ways of doing work are rapidly going away. A lot of manufacturing is automated as well. So that is being taken. But especially the white-collar email jobs, which pay well, but everybody knows people just do less and less at them. They're targeted. So I have quite a deep dive into agents today, AI agents, because it's the next wave and it's here. It's not in the future. It's happening now. OpenAI, again, announces launch of AI agent for autonomous reservations and etc. This comes to us from NHK. OpenAI, the U.S. developer of generative AI ChatGPT, has announced that it has begun offering a new feature called AI Agent, which allows AI to operate computers on behalf of humans and autonomously make reservations at restaurants and other facilities. According to the company, the new service called Operator has a function called AI Agent that allows the AI to operate the computer on the website while determining the necessary tasks on the user's behalf and perform the work autonomously with only a few instructions from the user. Sounds like a manager telling a subordinate what to do. So that subordinate's job or the assistant's job, gone. Specifically, or if you had 10 assistants, now you have 3, basically. Specifically, by simply inputting, tell me about family-friendly campsites that I can stay at this weekend. The AI will autonomously search the website to find the location of campsites and the available dates and times and proceed with the reservation process with simple instructions. This function is currently in the prototype stage and is only available to some paid members in the United States. Well, okay. Blah, blah, blah. So it's only available in the United States, so that means it's not happening in Japan. False. This comes to us from Japan.zdnet.com. So From now on, it's Japanese translation to English via AI translation services. BrainPad, a new company specializing in AI agents. BrainPad announced on January 28th that it will establish a wholly owned subsidiary called BrainPad AI Agent, specializing in the AI agent business. You ever heard of that? All right. Well, there's a fudge ton of this coming at you today. The subsidiary will be responsible for the development and provision of AI agents and consulting on their use. The company is scheduled to be established on March 3rd, and Tsuji Akiyuki, who will serve as the new company's representative, commented, quote, "Through the provision of AI agent services, we will substitute for tasks that could not be performed due to a lack of human resources or that were difficult to implement due to cost, improving the quality of decision-making within organizations and achieving dramatic efficiency in business processes. At the same time, we also believe that our mission is to sincerely address and solve issues such as ensuring the quality of decisions made by AI agents, maintaining consistency in understanding business contexts, and in building appropriate collaborative relationships between AI and people." So it already announced an AI agent service called BrainPad Annotation Agent, and the company plans to expand and expand. So it doesn't really say exactly what it's going to do, but there's one idea of an agent. Accenture evolves as AI agents hold business meetings with each other. This comes to us from Nikkei Business, Nikkei's business division. So the AI agents will hold business meetings with each other. So it's no longer, I'm a human manager with a small team of AI agents, and I meet with another human manager with a team of AI agents, and we put something together. The AI agents will meet with the AI agents. Let's begin. Mitsui will first build a number of specialized AI agents that will be trained in their respective fields of expertise, such as investment operations, market research, energy business, and consumer business, and then link them together by the end of 2026. Through this linkage, the AI agents will be able to carry out more complex and advanced tasks that could not be carried out by a single agent. Mitsui employees instruct the central AI agent that oversees the various specialized AI agents, such as pick out potential capital partners in the energy sector and present a business partnership proposal. The central AI agent is generally called the orchestrator. The orchestrator uses its reasoning capabilities to ask for expert opinions, using each specialized agent as a tool. In response, you're a tool. The specialized agents also use their reasoning capabilities to provide feedback. The orchestrator narrows down the list of potential partners based on the collected opinions and outputs a business partnership proposal, but it is up to a human to decide whether or not to actually enter into a partnership as proposed. So it's kind of in the future, but it is happening now because Mitsui is a major company. Do you think that this company is going to be focusing on hiring as much young talent as possible? Or is this company going to be focusing on hiring as little young talent, or only the top 2 percentile of applicants? Because below that, the odds that an AI agent, which works 24/7 and whatever, blah, 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 would do just as good of a job or better? I'm not sure. Doesn't look good, though. Doesn't look good. Accenture's chief technology architect, Keisuke Yamane, expects AI agents to advance automation not only with the company, but also outside of it. There we go. Let's get another example from Accenture. Accenture launches AI refinery for industry to accelerate adoption of industry-specific AI agents and transform business processes. So they're going to have AI agent solutions tailored to 12 industries. This is a business document. So examples of issues addressed by AI refinery for industry: consumer goods and services revenue management, partner for life science and clinical trials, industrial troubleshooting, B2B marketing, and and Accenture scales AI agents. Accenture's 600 plus marketers use the autonomous AI refinery for industry to develop more effective and faster marketing campaigns and enhance their day-to-day operations. AI refinery for industry provides insights into client needs and the broader market environment to optimize messaging. It goes on from there. This reminds me, in a way, of an Australian company that was doing something similar, but a little bit more rudimentary, a little bit more rugged. And this goes back to 2018 as well, where there was a Chinese businessman, and I can't remember exactly what he was making, but he had a business, and it was, producing things for like a Chinese market. And what was it? It was something like, not quite like shopping carts, but something like that, where they're used everywhere all the time. And companies are constantly building them and shipping them and selling them, and the needs for shopping carts and blah, blah, blah. So he got this Australian company to compile all of the like shopping cart supply chain data into one paragraph and send it to him in an email once a week or something like that. So he didn't need to look up the market reports. He didn't need to go through the pages and research. It was just like this country, this business, replacing this shopping cart with this shopping cart. And so he could get a global insight into what he was doing himself with just one paragraph of highly refined data. And that's kind of an AI agent, but it wouldn't do anything with the data. He would have to find his own way out of it. But with these new ones, the next level would be, which avenues can I pursue that do not affect the having an overreaching supply chain from my position or something like that. Anyways, that's another AI agent. Whew. Accenture, by the way, is up from 1 year ago, maybe 6 months ago. It's up about 3% year on year. But ever since these AI agents were announced in the past week, it's a sharp uptick in its evaluation on the markets. Next, strengthening collaboration with Secure to jointly develop surveillance camera solution. So we're going to move on away from that article, and we're going to move on to the next one, focusing more on AI cameras, because, those are another aspect we have here. So this one comes to us from the prtimes.jp. Strengthening collaboration with Secure to jointly develop surveillance camera solution using AI agents. Oh, look at that. So instead of having a human monitor the AI camera, an AI agent is going to monitor the AI camera. Well, it's not in the future. It's happening now. A company engaged in the AI solutions business, Headwaters, has agreed to strengthen its collaboration with Secure, a company that provides business solutions to resolve corporate issues through AI, image analysis, and security, to accelerate the joint development and business expansion of surveillance camera solutions that utilize AI agents. Headwaters believes that by utilizing AI agents to address AI camera issues, it will be possible to enhance video analysis and anomaly detection performance of surveillance camera solutions and improve operational efficiency and reduce the human burden. It's kind of a PR thing, so it doesn't go into how it's going to do it, but it's just another idea that, okay, we have all these AI cameras now everywhere. Surely there's a human looking at it. No, it's an AI agent looking at it now. Nexar teams with Japan Post. So that's actually the end of the AI agents. Should I play another horns? Nexar teams up with Japan Post for project to improve road conditions and support accelerated deployment of autonomous vehicles. Do I still have that one? I'll begin with this one, actually. So before we look at that one, I'm going to begin the autonomous vehicle section with just a bevy of headlines about self-driving buses. Because when I look up Jido Unten with news past week translated into English, these days it's just bus, mostly. Here we go. Self-driving bus trials begin in Kumamoto City. Demonstration testing of self-driving buses has begun in Kawasaki. Japan's first medium-sized bus to begin level 4 autonomous driving service in Hitachi City. Kuwana City conducts demonstration experiment of self-driving bus. A local bus crashes into autonomous bus during a test run in Kumamoto City. Urashino City Resort, demonstration test of autonomous vehicles in the onsen station area. Self-driving bus Waku Waku demonstrates operation between Kawasaki and Ota City. Wakayama City, it demonstrates autonomous driving with left and right turns. Mitoyo City, Kagawa Prefecture, and NTT West conduct demonstration experiment of self-driving bus. Ibaraki Kotsu begins commercial operation of level 4 autonomous driving on medium-sized buses. Travels approximately 6.1 kilometers. So you can see there that that's a lot of self-driving buses that are just slowly being like somebody has like a pepper shaker and it's filled with self-driving buses and they're just kind of shaking it over a map of Japan and just and they just kind of flutter down and settle here and there. They don't really go very quickly. You don't even notice them when they go by unless you look and go, wait, there's nobody driving that thing. But unless you're looking for it, it'll just look like a bus to you because it's an unseen revolution. All right. Back to the Japan Post Nexar team up. Nexar, a leader in AI-powered mobility solutions and its Japanese subsidiary, Nexar Japan, plans to implement a project to use dash cams to improve road conditions and support the deployment of autonomous vehicles. In the project, Nexar will develop a system to detect road construction and damage on highways and promote the improvement and maintenance of roads in Japan using image and location data acquired from dash cams installed in vehicles of Japan Post Group Company, Japan Post Transportation. These insights will also be used for digital mapping solutions required to accelerate the deployment of autonomous vehicles in Japan. I'm going to stop it there. Why I thought this was really good is because of the delivery applications. So one major issue with self-driving cars that I mentioned earlier that they never really took off on the streets is because they're not good with high variation scenarios, generally speaking. Tesla's getting pretty good at it now. But generally, you have to have a very advanced system to understand local roads and how local roads are always changing from each other and how to identify a bike that's attached to the back of a car, how that's not a bike on the road, and what do you do with one situation or another. But with this project, Nexar will be able to map all of the last mile delivery and maybe provide a solution where they can find one where it's appropriate of releasing self-driving cars to carry out last mile delivery. That's what I thought about here. I think that's the main reason, and we'll see how it goes. But I didn't want to do too much insight into it. Just that I was like, oh, Japan Post delivery, last mile delivery, can't do it. Roads are too local. But if they have that very targeted data set, they might be able to do it where they can find a good one. Is this the last one? A couple more here. Indian company orders 50 flying cars from Aichi-based SkyDrive. A Japanese venture announced January 28th that a private jet operator in India has pre-ordered 50 of its flying cars, crediting shareholder Suzuki Motor Corp for offering support towards realizing the agreement. SkyDrive, based in Toyota, Aichi Prefecture, and JetSetGo Aviation Services are considering operating a flying car business in the state of Gujarat, India, where Suzuki has a factory. They intend to expand the business across India. The aircraft shares its name with the startup, and the company plans to debut the eVTOL, that's the electric vertical takeoff and landing car. It's basically just a giant drone helicopter, and hold demonstration flights alongside its counterpart in the 2025 Osaka Kansai Expo, scheduled to open on April 13th of this year. It doesn't really go much into the detail. I just thought that was an interesting idea that Japan can't deploy its self-driving, self-flying. It's eVTOL transportation services in Japan, but they can sell them to India and use them there. Okay, maybe it's something will happen as a result of that. And I think that's going to be it for Japan Society 5.0. So this whole idea, it's very interesting with going back to the Made in China 2025, with the AI arms race, with the Beijing attaché of the American military. And this guy flew like the B-2 bombers and the stealth bombers and all that, General Spaulding. coming out with like this very prophetic document that just overlapped precisely onto what's happening today. And all you had to do is read the document and you'd understand that what we're going into, that's where we're going. And that's exactly what happened. And we can also see that there's a lot of shenanigans going on with the large language model industry and how they are, in my view, a lot of charlatans, and they are getting in the way. They're trying to commandeer all the investment capital that's going into AI right now and then secure it to create their own power infrastructure separate from the rest of us. So they can have giant factories full of autonomous vehicles and goods or future societies powering that. And they'll have their little groups that opt into all that based on some, maybe you have to get castrated to get in there or something like that. Maybe not at first. And that's actually what's going on. But China releases this tiny little thing, and it undercuts the entire perception of what they were doing by $1 trillion almost overnight. So what does that mean? Where's which side is which? But it's an AI war, definitely. The AI arms race is upon us. And Mr. Spalding, we need another document. We need 2025 to 2030 and 2030 to 2035 at least. Make it a two-parter. I'd read it. Somebody else would read it. And we'd walk around going, don't you see what's happening? And everyone would go, it's never going to happen. All right. I'm going to play a song that was an AI song. And I've been playing these drone operator songs. Now, I've been using Suno.com, which is an AI music generator. And their latest version 4, does very good tunes. I played the same lyrics a couple of weeks ago, but the song is completely different. So what happens with these AI generators is that you say, what are the criterias for this one? Japanese soul, tight drums, session guitarist, ballad, minor chords, seventh chords, indie female, soprano vocalist, harmonies, 2010s. So I put all those in as prompts to make a song. And then the AI makes songs for you based on that. But one song can sound just drastically different from the other. A couple of weeks ago, I played a song that ended with a rather harrowing end to these AI-based sonnets. And that song was it was great. It was a really good song. But it was like a kind of song that I had heard before, like kind of like a soul groove or something like that. But sometimes this AI makes a song and it sounds familiar, but it's like nobody I know has ever made a song like that before. And I'm going to play this song to demonstrate that. So this is about a drone hunter. So it's like this drone warfare that we see going on with people getting blown up by these first-person view drones. This is from the perspective of soldiers fighting the drones. And I'm going to play it, and just as an example of if you listen to the podcast a few weeks ago, you might remember some of the lyrics, but I don't really think so. But you would never think that these two would ever be the same song, ever. So I'm going to play it, and then we will do something else after that.
I'm soldier one. Alone I crouch, my bullets all but spent. My platoon lost, whether dead or alive. In trees I hide, cold and with little bent. As overhead, the drone begins to dive. Its hum persists, both whiny and unforgiving. It hunts me through the leaves where blooms arise. The drone with deadly cargo seeks my living. A man or AI crafts my quick demise. I grasp a branch, the earth beneath me shakes. I swing with might, the rotors hit with force. The drone veers off, then bursts in flames and breaks. Its wreckage burns behind the mossy course. I stare and wonder through the smoke and blast. Was it a man or AI that sealed my past? Soldier 22. dry and dusty track. As heat beats down the air, a blinding haze. My rifle spits, but none of my shots back. The drone that chases through the desert's maze. The bumps toss me, my aim a shifting guess. While through the dust, the drone stays hot in chase. My war mates grunt, their voices filled with stress. While I can't strike the target lost in space. The sun melts stone beneath the searing breath. The drone draws near, a shadow in the heat. I fire again, but know it's set for death. A flash, a roar, and then the end complete. My final thought, a patriot in this war. If AI killed me, what was I fighting for?
There we go.
Every time my heart is aching.
No, don't play the next song, you AI.
The fourth industrial revolution will enable us to create a new society. Artificial intelligence will transform the big data collected through the Internet of Things into new wisdom. Society 5.0, a technology-based, human-centered society. The fourth industrial
All right.
revolution.
There was a lot of news about DeepSeek in the past week, but I'm not sure if anyone compiled together a report like that. It was kind of like this weird blast from the past. My mind was like trying to keep up with the present and the past at the same time while remembering surrounding data within that wake. Let's take a look at the final segment for today.
Stupid gadget of the week. Stupid gadget, SGOTW.
With the rise of mass tourism in Japan, also comes the rise of foreigners doing dumbass shit in Japan. This one from Japan Today on January 28th. Ukraine man pleads not guilty to charges of smuggling 113 kilograms of drugs. A Ukrainian man pleaded not guilty. The drugs, valued at around 7 billion yen, represent the largest stimulant seizure ever found in a single operation by the Toyama Prefectural Police. Valery Smirnov, 56, said during the first hearing of the Toyota District Court that he was unaware of the drugs hidden in the air cargo from Mexico. In their opening statements, prosecutors said Smirnov came to Japan in March 2023 as a refugee. They alleged he hid the stimulant drugs in air cargo, disguised as a metal polishing machine, and arranged to transport them by car. Interesting, huh? So we have this guy with a bunch of drugs with some sort of industrial machine. I wonder if there could be any other news that would have anything to do with something similar. Canadian executive accused of smuggling 320 kilograms of meth into Japan from January 31st, 2025 via TokyoReporter.com. A 38-year-old Canadian company executive has been arrested for smuggling about 320 kilograms of methamphetamine hidden inside large industrial machinery last year. According to police, Vince Yatsam Yang, a company executive who provides construction consulting services in Shinjuku, not too far from the Aizumicho studios, is suspected of smuggling seisai, or methamphetamine, from the port of Los Angeles in the United States to Japan in December. He hid them inside a large industrial processing machine weighing about 9 tons allegedly. Interesting. They were found in bags? Okay, there we go. So isn't that interesting? I wonder how that's going around. Well, Well, let's check in on the largest working population of Japan. 4 Vietnamese suspected in theft of 11 cars in Tochigi. 4 Vietnamese men have been arrested in connection with the theft of 11 cars from a dealership in Otawara City last year. 3 of the suspects have already been arrested for the same crime in neighboring prefectures. This is a profitable business. I sold one of the cars I stole for 310,000 yen. The other one was for 290,000 yen. The quote was taken from a recording made by the dashboard camera of a vehicle stolen by the ring. The 3 arrested, all of whom are Vietnamese, includes 24-year-old, I can't say their names. They are suspected of stealing 11 cars on display at Honda Cars Nozaki in Otawara City in last August. They also pilfered about 4.5 million yen in cash from a safe on the premises. Okay, give them the vote. Let's bookend it with that. Now, of course, I want to say the vast majority of foreigners do not commit crimes in Japan and overall Although I will say, you look at the Vietnamese exclaves around the world, whether it's in Russia or in UK or all these other places, when the countries compile their statistics of crime by nationality, when it comes to like Asia, for some reason, Vietnamese always ranks higher than the rest of like East Asian or South Asian or Northeast Asian or whatever countries, like the Thai and the Japanese and the Koreans and even the Indonesians. Like they don't really pop up in like the statistics, but for some reason the Vietnamese do. I don't know why, but that's going to be
Stupid Goddamn of the week. Stupid Goddamn, SGOTW.
All right, remember to go to MatthewPMBigelow.com for all your Japan what needs. We have photos. We have all the links from today's show waiting for you there. You can also donate to the show at paypal.me/JapanWUT, or just go to the website, Matthew PM Bigelow, to give us some love, give us some traffic. Send it our way. We need it. All right, that's going to be it for me today. Until next time, everybody, I wish thee a very heartful and fruitful Ja Mata.
Next.